about? What do you want to talk about?
Maybe these are great.
I know, this is like so
These
much.
are good.
So much to talk
Just grab
about.
one.
What do you want to talk about? The cost of living?
I want to talk about this.
What do you want to talk about?
Tiny versus
What?
big rigs.
Oh,
Maneuverability,
okay.
accessibility.
Go ahead.
Just real quick.
You like talking about
I
rigs.
do. Well, yeah, it was my world. You know, she had her whole entire world inside the RV, while mine was also about a whole other bunch of factors that just she didn't have to consider, you know, and just we picked an RV that was under 35, like right at 35 feet, so that we could have a little bit better maneuverability. And my RV turned well. Like it had a great turning radius, and it made my life so much easier for maneuvering that thing around. And because of that, we were able to park on properties and in places that we otherwise would never have been able to access if we had the more standard 40-foot RV. And that made a huge difference. We've seen schoolie conversion guys also navigate with savage precision through a lot of areas that otherwise are kind of stuck outside of it. But the benefits too that I got to see with people that had fifth wheels, man, y'all, fifth wheels got something going on for it. You know what I'm saying? They got the truck, and they got maneuverability that's on a different level, and the entirety of the fifth wheel is livable space. So we always had mad respect for the fifth wheel folks because they packed it in.
I think we just didn't do the truck and the fifth wheel thing because we didn't have a truck. Had we already had a nice truck that could have pulled a fifth wheel, we would have just been all in on the fifth wheel life and like not even missed a beat. But we would have had to purchase a truck and a fifth wheel, and that package together sometimes can be a little pricier, especially with the fifth wheels we really liked. So anyway, that's why we didn't go that route. And then we had the motorhome route, and we were like, okay, gas versus diesel. That's another big thing.
We chose diesel because we wanted to be able to, you know, haul lots of stuff and just the actual we love the mountains, and we wanted to be able to potentially drive over the Rockies on a regular basis. So the bigger things to me was, can I stop this RV when I'm going downhill? So the brakes was a huge deal too, and we chose a diesel pusher, you know, so the diesel was in the back. It was a tank. That thing was a tank. It was a great RV. It was a great choice. We started with something that wasn't a total lemon, and that made our RV experience mechanically, we weren't broke down. And like, that's foundationally different experience when you're doing an RV life or you're doing a travel trailer life, is if you're not broken down all the time. So if anything, that was like one of our best decisions that we made, was choosing a vehicle that was mechanically very sound. It had relatively low miles for the age that it was. And we bought it from the desert. Super fundamental too. Buy it if you can. If you're going to be even look down this road, if you can buy it from out west in the desert, highly recommend it, because the chances of mold and water damage are far lower down. So that's kind of what I want to say. We contemplated doing a real tiny. We contemplated very tiny. You know, we looked at some of the smaller sub 30-foot stuff, and I would have said yes
had we not had small. Had we not? Yes.
Before children.
Yes, before children. Absolutely, total yes. We also had 4 cats and a toddler. So I was like, no, that sounds like I want to go crazy in that tiny, tiny, tiny space.
It's also dogs and cats things and all that stuff was brutal. Lots of complications to where you can stay and where you're allowed to stay if you have dogs. Less so with the cats. But I was happy to get rid of all the cats as soon as physically possible. My life was so much better without them.
Litter boxes in a small space.
Stupid. I rhino-lined, rubber lined an entire storage base area underneath one of the table. Oh, it's just ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Crazy amounts of storage for that stinking litter box.
Stinking box of poop. It was a nightmare. I didn't recommend it.
And cats are also very territorial, and it's a very small space. So there's a lot of competing people for the territory.
But animals in the RV, we did just full disclosure though, we may have abandoned the cats, but y'all, we picked up turtles. We picked up all kinds of stuff over the years. We raised quail. We raised a bunch of quail. Someone after Passover was like, here's some quail.
And we had rabbits. All right, guys, we are getting ready to roll. Getting some tires. We got a rabbit down here with some quail. Sharing a cage. We've got a heat lamp with some new chickies, new quail here. We've got quite a lot of critters traveling with us this time around. You got your chick?
It's on the turtle.
I will. We got chicks and chicks.
Crushed electrical cords.
Oh my gosh. Oh, man.
That's why I was getting so hot.
And Rose. Where's Rose? Where's little Rose? Oh, I can't even see Rose. Rose, where are you? Where's Rose? Oh, can you spot the turtle? There's Rose. Snapping turtle. Yes, she had to even come too. So we've got all kinds of critters rolling with the Reynolds.
Got my little chicken.
Got our little chickies rolling with the Reynolds. And we had rabbits.
Good rabbits.
We had rabbits while we were traveling. So anyway, we
What
weren't
other flighty creature?
okay. We weren't planning on having rabbits. Okay, but then while we were at one of the homesteads where we were working on a farm, we got the rabbits, and then we ended up going back on the road, and we didn't want to part with the rabbits. They were our girls' rabbits, and anyway, but it definitely complicated our life. So moving in the tiny space with animals was a little cray. I would not recommend it. If you have animals, you can make it work. It just might add some added challenges. We had a girl that we used to live across the street from, and she actually developed some kind of app and sensor for your motorhome to detect, because, you know, if you have to park your motorhome somewhere during the summer and then you're leaving, sometimes different things can happen and your AC could go out, or, you know, whatever, and you have a pet that's stuck in a really, really, really hot motorhome, you know, or whatever. So anyway, she had some kind of app thing to help with that. But anyway, there's just extra considerations when you have pets. You know, you have to consider that, you know, if you're ever going to leave your rig, because it does get very hot in there. If you're boondocking, like, you can't just, I mean, you're going to have to leave it.
It gets super hot.
Even with the windows open, it's
so hot.
It's
and
like
you're
can.
It's so hot. It is so fast to just sit in your car. Like, understand, it's pretty similar. It's not that foreign. It's pretty similar. So let's dive into something else here.
See. Oh, I just said going where y'all leads you versus going where you want to go. So we definitely on the road, we definitely tried to, before we were going to go somewhere, just pray and let the Father lead us, you know, and lead us through peace. And, you know, some areas we'd stay for 3 months, and then some areas we'd stay for a couple nights, and we're like, let's leave. This is not, this is not where we want to be. But he was so faithful to just lead us around, and that whole time on the road. And, you know, we're just learning to press into him and to just trust him, you know, even when things felt so uncertain, you know, and we weren't sure where we were going to go. And, you know, living on the road, another thing I was going to talk about is the cost of living, income on the road, and like what to do. So if you're wanting to live a mobile lifestyle, you have to think about those things, like how are you going to make income on the road? For us, we had kind of some passive income, but we also had we were doing ministry pretty full time, and then we were also you know, still needing some other way that we could sustain this lifestyle, because, you know, I think sometimes people think, oh, if I live tiny, if I live mobile and I'm traveling around, you know, outside of the cost of gas and food, like, it should be pretty free, and that's just not true at all. And you know, we had to have we had motorhome insurance, you know, which was actually pretty expensive. We also had, well, some of the first year we didn't have a tow vehicle behind our car, which was a mistake. If we had it to do over, we would have definitely got a dolly and had a tow vehicle behind our motorhome, so we could detach and then take our car and go into the city for groceries or whatever we're needing. And instead, that first year, we had to take our motorhome and bring in the slides, bring up the jacks, and drive in to go to Target or to Walmart or whatever, you know, the grocery store. Like, that was kind of crazy. That was crazy. But anyway, the tow vehicle made a huge difference. But there just is, you know, you just have to consider these things, because it definitely is more expensive than you could have ever dreamed. RV parks and just the nightly stays at either RV parks or campgrounds or whatever, that is so expensive.
And maybe a bummer later. Yeah. This is the heaviest rain I've driven in inside a campground. Fantastic. Perfect way.
You got a shower.
I got a great shower. You know what? Living water showers are just as biblical as living water baptisms. Go mikvah in the rain. I did. I sat out there and was starting to sing a song called Singing in the Rain. And I was like, man, what is this nonsense coming out of my mouth? And then I just started literally singing praises to him. And I remembered the Psalms of David. And I talked about the majesty of the Creator who made rain. Warm rain, granted. This is wonderful, warm, hot, humid rain. So you know what? It is a shower. This is the authentic shower. Before garbage pressurized water deceived us all into thinking we were taking showers when we stepped into chlorine and fluoride. You know what we're in now? Living rain. It's salty kind of because I'm near the ocean. But now I'm alive and invigorated.
And Busty's getting a bath.
And my house just got a power washing from the hands of Yahweh himself.
How nice. It is so expensive just to have hookups, okay? And then, like Nathan's saying, unless you're wanting to park in Walmarts all the time, or at Cracker Barrels or whatever. And, you know, once you're traveling for a while and you do live like that, like
it wears off.
Living in a Walmart parking lot gets old, okay? It gets sketchy. You have to be very on guard because you don't know who's pulling in and who's going to park next to you and who's going to be outside your vehicle or your home while you're sleeping at night, and you hear weird things. And I don't know, sometimes it's just a very on guard, a very on guard and vulnerable thing to park in a parking lot overnight and sleep there. It doesn't mean you can't do it or that you shouldn't do it. It just means you have a different heightened
awareness.
Yes, awareness while you're in those places and while you're doing that while you're traveling, and that can add stress. And so I think doing that kind of living, boondocking like that, can add stress and make it a lot less enjoyable of a life on the road. And so you do kind of have to balance out, at least that's what we did. We would balance out boondocking with overnight stays, a couple overnight stays at a campground, because you do want running water and you do want to be able to take a shower and not use your whole tank, because when you're boondocking, you have to really conserve water with dishes. You're like literally like fill a dish pan, or a dish basin with the hot soapy water, and you have another rinse bucket. And I mean, they're very minimal amounts of water, or maybe you just soap all your dishes up and then you just rinse them really quick, but you're trying to use as much or as little amount of water as possible. These are all just considerations. But if you think you're going to get an RV living because it's going to be more free or reasonably free, I'm here to tell you that that's just not the case. And that was actually a huge wake-up call for us too, because I think we were under the impression that it was going to be significantly cheaper. And when we started tallying up the bills of, our different stays, different places, and gas, and we still had cell phone bills, we still had insurance, and whatever, just different little bills and things, like it wasn't as free as we were hoping, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
And when you actually crunch the math, I was like, this is literally like the same amount we were paying for our mortgage when we had a house. So for what it's worth, it definitely, yeah.
That is kind of what led us onto the road of volunteering on farms and doing like work trade programs, woofing, WWOOF, and we created a profile and began to search for places where we could stay somewhere. They provide hookups and food or produce from the farm, and we trade some labor on the farm. And that was where so much of our experience ended up centering around that over the years, because we now got opportunities to learn a way of life that we really didn't know much about. And it also connected us to a community of people that were just passionate about similar things and eating really well and taking care of their bodies and raising good food and raising their families with them. And it was a beautiful little opening to
all fellow travelers too.
All people that get it, y'all. Like, if you've never done the sojourning thing, if you've never done the traveler's life, you can't comprehend it. And you really also understand hospitality. Like, if you've never gone into that experience in life, you can't understand what the needs of a sojourner really are like, because you've never been so exhausted and just wanting laundry, like things that if you're planted and you have a home and you have four walls with regular electricity and water, and there's so many things that aren't even on your radar to consider that you take for granted, like a flushing toilet. There's people that are traveling on a regular basis that stuff is literally eating them alive, and it's like they are scrambling to try to take care of that stuff all the time. They are always trying to find basic things, trying to get water, like trying to get laundry. Laundry was a big challenge, because if we could go back and change one of the things, we would put in one of those miniature 2-in-1 washer dryer things. That would have been one of the best things we could have put in. We should have put in.
Here's our washer machine. Got it going. Hopefully. Look how fancy I am. No more breaking things. Ew, look at that water already. That's disgusting. It's been on for 30 seconds. Yikes. That's so cool. It turns one way for a while and then it'll turn the other way. I love it. We'll see how clean the clothes get. I'll keep you posted.
Cleaning day. Laundry day. Where's Naomi? Where's Naomi? I see her. Right away, because it was very difficult. We did so much laundromat life. We spent a lot of time and money at laundromats. A lot of it for many, many years.
Yes, that's another cost.
It's a whole other thing. You're like, I just spent $80 this month at laundromats.
Yeah.
That wasn't really on my radar, but it's definitely an essential, especially as the children start having blowouts on a regular basis and there's just poop spectacular things going on all the time. But that's one of those things we just want to share with you, because laundry is a challenge on the road and there's not an easy way around it. They do make these cool washers that are tiny and compact and you just keep doing. One of our friends did 5 loads every day. They did 5 loads of laundry every day, mini loads every day.
Yeah. I felt like when we would be traveling and we'd go stay with somebody, like they would feed us the most amazing meals. And, after traveling too, you realize like anyone on a road trip, when you're traveling through, it's hard to cook meals, and especially if you're boondocking, you're trying to conserve your fuel, you're trying to conserve your propane, you're trying to conserve your electricity and your batteries, and you're trying to conserve your water. And so you're trying to just cook efficiently, but sometimes you can't cook these big elaborate meals and whatnot. And so when people would host us, they were just so generous and just like, you just feel so unbelievably loved, like as a weary traveler, to like come into a nice warm home that's brightly lit with like the most amazing food and fresh towels, and go shower, and like let's throw your laundry in, and like let's hook up your rig to power and water, and like just like, oh, you just felt like the most amazing, just like refuge. You just like felt this like safety and like home, like, oh, just that feeling of home, like, when you're visiting your parents and you've been out and you haven't seen them for a very long time, and then you come home, that feeling of just like being like loved by your parents. That's what it is like to love a sojourner. It's like going home to mom and dad, like come on in, get a big hug, get a warm meal, get a warm shower, and we'll do your laundry for you. They're so sweet.
Chelsea has epic parents.
But anyway, and then Woof, like the Worldwide Organization of Organic Farms. Like,
we always get it wrong, so never trust us on that
it's
one.
Something like that. Look it up. WWOOF. And anyway, that we came across some other people who woofed on a farm with us briefly, and they ended up telling us about this, and we're like, I think that sounds like a great idea. And you know what? It is a great option. Come show them a juice.
Let me show you the out of a juice box.
Let's see it.
This is the honeymill. Kissable fruit. It's ugly. Looks like it's growing barnacles.
Yeah, this one too. It's the best kind.
Best thing to do is, if you can, you just gently go around the orange ahead of time. Oop, and squeeze it. Then you bite
loosen the juice.
You loosen the juice. Then you bite a hole in the weakest spot of the peel. I already did that. And then
squeeze it. Juice pouch. There's a juice pouch.
Most of the time you don't get juice on you, but then you have this
throw it out.
Compostable peel.
Compost.
Life-giving oranges.
This is Meredith. She's our friend on the farm. Naomi's best friend on the farm. It's great. They're riding bikes today. Where's Juju? Oh, there's a little juice pouch, baby. There's a little juice pouch, girl. or if you're trying to save money while you are traveling, because we were looking for ways to save money. And a lot of these farms are amazing. They have amazing hosts. You're living in some of the most beautiful rural farm areas all over the country, in the mountains, on the plains, like anywhere and everywhere in between, by the, in Florida, like wherever it is. And just, it was such an amazing and enriching experience, because we got to park in some of the most beautiful places. Like, have you ever seen those, you're driving down the road and you're like, oh, look at that property. It's just like pristine. It's just so beautiful. I would love to live there. And it's like, we got to live there. We got to live on like a lot of those properties, just like these beautiful farms. And they're just like little Angettis back in there. And like, you just get to park there and you get to park for free. And then a lot of them had hookups, power and water. And then sometimes they would help you out with staples for the week. Like, some of your additional, maybe some cheese and some milk, or some, other staples from Costco or whatever. And then you get the fresh produce from the farm too. So sometimes it was chicken eggs. Sometimes it was this, or, sometimes it was, the vegetables, or the fruit or whatever. And just, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. Good morning, guys. We just went out. That was so windy last night and so rainy. I figured a lot of fruit would have blown off the vines, and these ones have, but these are beautiful. They're just wet cracks. So I went ahead and snatched a bunch of tomatoes up. These were a bunch that were on the ground that were older, and they're just a little more squishy, and they're a little more fermented inside, so they don't taste as good. So I'm going to take all those and squeeze them out today, harvest all the seeds from them. This is Naomi's little basket she gathered. And then we went around and gleaned some kale with little holes in it from the bugs. So we got a nice big beautiful, or just older kale, so anyway, we have a big beautiful thing of kale that I'm gonna dice up. We got some papaya. So yeah, we're just gonna get our Shabbat prep on. So all of this is going to go into a pasta sauce that I'm just gonna make quickly over gluten-free noodles. So that's a lot of prep there. We're eating, this was like 6 tomatoes, 3 little eggplants, a couple small zucchini. So that's how much prep is going into almost every meal, and we eat like this 3 times a day. So it's kind of insane, but the amount of prep, but at the same time, like, it's amazing how good we feel eating farm fresh. So, and you can live pretty free when you have a free place to park, because like I said, one of the biggest expenses when you're traveling is those campgrounds and the RV parks and the RV, wherever you're staying. I mean, if you can find a campground, some campgrounds were epic that we found. They had full hookups down in Arizona or was it Arizona and New Mexico? We found like full Joni, credit to Joni Wegman. She found these sites that were amazing, and they were like $15 a night for full hookups. And I mean, that's just like unheard of. It was more like $45 a night or $50 a night, and $50 a night. I mean, that adds up, y'all. I just might read through some of my things. Make your home your own. Make your RV your own. So we removed the couch. We converted the closet. We removed the couch. We added some comfortable chairs, like rocking chairs and comfy recliner chairs that were normal.
I like to lay flat.
Normal furniture.
Very important. I want to lay flat.
You don't have to have RV furniture that's mounted to the floor. Okay. You don't have to do that.
It all comes out. You can use a Sawzall when in doubt.
That's right. So,
I cut my entire fridge out with the Sawzall. Cut that thing
laying flat in my RV.
Jubilee wants to come and see what it
Come
is.
check it out, ladies. Oh.
That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Oh.
Wow.
That's all I've wanted to do for 2 years. 2 years. That's all I've been wanting to do. Lay flat.
Nobody's ready for me.
That's how I feel
We
when
didn't
I
have
can't
some.
lay flat.
Make it your own. I mean, we put shelves everywhere. We just put all these little shelves. Go vertical with your space. But there was this weird little picture of like an olive oil bottle, and it was like not colors that I liked or whatever. So I just took that off the wall and put something else up and painted the frame and like make it your own space. We put linen curtains in there. We converted the back bedroom sliding. We took out the sliding glass doors. We didn't want the glass doors. We took the sliding glass doors out, and then we had the closet space, and we ended up making bunk beds in there for our girls as our family grew over time. Even though it's a tiny space, you can still change it. It's like the transformer, the thing that can just keep changing and shifting around. You can do so much with a tiny space. You just have to have the creative eye for it. So anyway, make it your own. Let's see. Oh, we loved the swivel recliners in the front. Oh, yeah. That was amazing.
That was nice for hosting other people too. We packed a bunch of people in there at times. Yeah. And that was really fun.
They were our driver chairs going down the road, but then we could swivel them around and they would become the living room when you'd pop out the slides. We loved, if you have to have slides, we loved the opposing slides because it made your tiny living space feel huge. If we had it to do over again, though, now we
would not do slides because water ingress is like inevitable. They leak. They leaky. They're like a diaper that just will not hold it in, son. There is no amount of inevitability that's there. You can't stop it. Water's coming in eventually. Through every slide we've ever seen, there's water damage, like guaranteed. So we say that because we lost our home to mold and understand it causes catastrophic problems when water gets in your walls. And like most houses don't have walls that go sideways and become rectangles and have water because you're not level. That's a super important thing. It's almost impossible to be perfectly level unless you're parked on concrete or asphalt. And even that's not always level, So that's why I go back to the leveling jacks, y'all. We're critical. Okay. But no, if we could, man, I'm telling you, tour buses, like buses that were made to travel 500,000 miles or 1,000,000 miles. Those things are made to be on the road and stay on the road and do those kinds of conversions are far more advantageous, or even schoolies in that regard, because you're not dealing with those same problems. Now, schoolies have different challenges because the roof height, if you're a tall person, even remotely, you can't even stand upright all the way in those schoolies. And there's all kinds of other challenges with all the windows and all the amount of just tin can effect inside a school bus. Every one of them's got their own different challenges, their pros and their cons. We did not do the travel trailer, so we can't really speak to too much of that, nor did we do the fifth wheel. If we would look at it again, I would love to do, I would lean towards, I like the fifth wheel idea or a tour bus. Really, it's just the tour bus kind of style. If you're going to go with an all-in-one style of driving, I just can't even fathom it with all the children now.
Or the Airstreams. We really like the Airstreams.
We like the idea of them.
We're
not talking about living full-time in them anymore. Like, that's just...
We can't really wrap our mind around it. We would if y'all called us to that, but...
We would consent.
So we talked about the Oster convection toaster oven already. We talked about the self-leveling Autojack.
Oh, hold on, I got one for you. All of the attachments for hooking onto power of various kinds. Oh, yes. Those are super important. All the dongles, all the little things that allow you to go from 50 amp to 30 amp, from 30 amp to 110, all that stuff, the splitters, the extension cords, the RV, the hoses. Oh my gosh, my world revolved around hoses. Because sometimes I had to go get water from 150 feet away. Like, that's a reality. And like, my life revolved around hoses, high quality hoses, and then all the adapters that go with hoses. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to do the RV life, you got to understand you're going to be somewhat going to need to do electrical work. You're going to need to understand basics of gas. You're going to need to understand stuff about plumbing. You're like, there's a whole other level of like, my tool chest when I went into it was like 5 things. And I was like, that's about all I'm ready to do, And it was like, by the end of it, I had tool chests, like chests of tools because of all the things that I had to do. But you know what? It helped me to also learn and overcome my avoidance of dealing with those issues. And on that side of it, man, I was ticked a lot of times doing those projects, like where I was on the underside of the RV and just grinding all of the rust off of it and then putting on, what was that, naval jelly to arrest the rust, and then to spray and paint the whole thing on the underside. That was savage work, but those jacks, man, my whole house came up, son. Like, it was so epic to have jacks. I just felt like a stud every time I used them. I'm like, yeah, That's right.
We parked in so many people's driveways that were like super steep, but we had those jacks and it could go and like make us pretty level.
Oh man, my whole entire back end would be hanging off like a stinking fish out of a boat. It was dangling. You know, all of the RV things are like, don't do that. I'm like, I don't care. I own it. I have to, you know, but that changed. I'm telling you, the jacks, bros, the jacks.
We also quickly realized how awful a black tank is. Awful. And if you're trying to live boondocky and more free, the black tank is nasty, y'all. So composting toilet was such a blessing. It was a blessing.
You can make them super easy and cheap.
Yeah.
You don't have to get a complicated one. We got like a $900 like made for boats, sailboat style, like what was that thing called? I don't know. It was okay. I mean, it was nice, kind of. It had some quirks to it though. Like our friends showed us their bucket version, and I was like, this is so much more simple. They had one that separated their pee from their poop, and you could change it out with like a gallon jug with just the pee bucket. Nothing fancy. 5-gallon bucket. I was like, this is simple.
I definitely overflowed the urine bucket all the time.
That was the trade. But you know what was better was not having my black tank tell me that it's full, and I don't want to go pay to dump my poop, you know?
You don't want that over.
No, man, just let her buck, bro. Pull the piston, pull the handle, pull that black handle, and just let it rock, son. Fertilize the fields. I did it all the time. You betcha. I'll admit to it now. You got nothing on camera. I'm just saying. I didn't care, man. You get to a place where you're so desperate, you're like, it's full.
And you're
it's
out in the middle of the
full.
Desert,
There ain't no that thing's got to go. It's got to go.
Pocket doors were amazing. Fantastic fans. Money. Oh my gosh. When we were down in Texas, we had all the windows open because it was hot in there, of course. And we were trying to get that ocean breeze. We were down by the ocean. And for some reason there was hornets galore. And they were trying to get in every little nook and cranny, but they couldn't get in. And I even had the vent go up with the fantastic fan. It goes, ooh, and it has a little bug, what am I trying to say? Screen. It had a bug screen, and the fan is still rocking in there. And so we were totally comfortable in there, and there's all these hornets trying to get in, and they couldn't even get in. Anyway, the fantastic fan.
It murdered many of them. It was fantastic.
It's fantastic. Wool rugs.
Oh yeah.
Space heaters,
nice.
Dehumidifiers. If you don't need these things, well, you still need space heaters, okay? Because you're gonna still, okay. If you're a sojourner, you must migrate like the birds. You must migrate like the birds, okay? You go north in the summer, you go south in the winter. You must migrate like them. If you choose to not, or you're slow about it, you're going to run into trouble, son. You're going to need that dehumidifier because, you know, if it starts getting cold and it's warm in your RV and you're running that propane heat and it's cold outside, you're going to start getting condensation like crazy in that son of a gun. And you're going to need dehumidifiers, okay? It drains slower. And
there's a river in our house.
I mean, I could have. Oh. I don't know who left it on. It could have been me.
Oh.
It could have been me. I don't know if it was me or.
We've had a river flowing for hours into our house because the sink was on and our tanks were closed.
It could have been me.
Oh man. And it's just flowing down into our cabinets, storage bays. Oh. Mercifully, the 3 humidifiers going, fans. All right. Entire house. Just got dumped out there. Because this has all been dripping.
And if it's getting cold, you're going to need space heaters. And if it's getting cold or hot, you're going to need wool rugs. We had wool rugs by the end. We had wool rugs.
The whole entire floor.
Lining the entire floor of the motorhome. And it kept it cooler in the summer and warm and toasty in the winter. It was an extra layer of insulation. It was amazing.
It was critical. Fighting mice. Let me just go for a second on random, like my tangent. That reminds me. Listen, a lot of my life also revolved around killing things, which is fantastic. But I had to fight mice and varmint of all kinds of different pests over the years. And because we were parking, when you're just parking in some random field, you got the field mice, and one of them wrecked my RV. It chewed so many.
Goliath.
Yeah, he had a name. I ended him. Dude, somebody taught me how to kill something very effectively because they dealt with rats in Texas. And they're like, oh, no, you're going to buy a regular mousetrap and then you're going to tap a bunch of nails on the other side of it. So then when it comes down upon thy head, it kills him. And I was like, oh, I've been trying to kill this thing for a long time. But mice love to go into the RV space, in your storage areas in particular, where all of your conduit is for your wiring, and they build their nests, right? They find your stash of toilet paper and your PT, your paper towel, and then they just plunder that and they make nests and everything else, man. I went through so many different rat traps and mouse traps over the years, and I found the ones with those crazy savage teeth. I had to fight mice regularly everywhere we went. And that was like a serious thing because they chewed my hot water, like the electric lines that turned on my hot water heater. Like we were.
The awning.
Oh man, the awning. One of the best and the most challenging things about it. The awning was amazing because it gave us this shade shield because it's so hot. The sun is turning up, you guys. You got to understand, geoengineering is real. Go to Dane Wigington, geoengineeringwatch.org. Just tuck it away. The sun is melting stuff. Like, understand, like, growing up in my life, I never saw plastic bike helmets melting into puddles. Yep. Did you? I'm just saying, like trash cans on the side of the road melting into oblivion. Well, when you're living in like a small space like that, oh my gosh, is it savage. So any level of shade, the awning was epic, but the awning had difficulty because that stinking squirrel wrecked the wiring for that thing. And I was never able to get it to work quite right ever again. And that
we had to bring it out manually every time.
That's because I just pulled the whole thing. I gave up. Welcome to Nathan. He gave up at that point in his life when it came to the awning and the electrical stuff. You know, I was like, we'll just do it manually. And so then we had to have long staffs that we would fit onto that thing and pull it in and out. And one time I failed to secure and zip tie. Oh my gosh. This was about at the end of it all. You know what I'm saying? When I was like stinking done with road life. It was unraveling. And we went to get our windshield fell out. You know, that can happen. Yeah. That's a thing. Oh my. There's that. The other one's got to come out. Yeah, we pray it does not fall all the way out. You can see how far out it was. Coming out the side. Oh man. Mercy and let it not crack, please. So just check this out. Okay, your windshields can fall out of your RVs, and they're like, it's sinking, and they're like, why? They're like, well, all of this it's heavy and everything's melting. And I'm like, great. So my RV windshield was melting, and then it came out. It literally like popped out, and then it had this gap, and I was freaking out because bugs were coming in, and it was hot. I battled so much heat in that thing. It was like a death trap box of horrors for me at times. It was savage. And anyways, we went to get this RV windshield put back in. And on our drive back, we're going through these ridiculous Ozark hauler switchbacks. You know what I'm saying? And that thing shot open, big thing, like 15-foot awning while I'm driving.
Him and I was like, and I'm like trying to grab my cell phone as we're going through these curves, and I'm trying to like
just drive and sail.
I'm trying to call him, desperately trying to call him because I'm like, does he know the awning's out? The awning's out.
Missing trees by inches, and I pull over to the one spot that had a tiny little pull off, and I was like, oh my gosh, You know, like, how do I get it in? You know, it's like 10 feet up in the air, you know? And I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe Chelsea will pull up in here. And I was like, I need somebody who can get me up there. And, you know, I found some loggers. I ran into the forest and found loggers, and they thought I was a joke. You know, I'm a character of a creature when I pop out of into anybody's world. They're like, I'm like, well, hello, you know, and they're like some Lindenite freak show guys just rolling into a bunch of logging community. Odd. Either way, I was like, convince them, please come help me, you know, and they thought it was a joke. They sincerely thought it was a prank. And they came out, and sure enough, there's this giant RV with Linden Railroad stickers on it, and the guy's awning's just sticking out on the side of the road. And I'm like, can you please help me? I need to roll that thing in manually. And they're like, all right. Needless to say, praise y'all for Ozarks. Good people out there too. Bunch of savage psychos too, but good people otherwise.
A few more things. Oh, a heated water hose. Once again, if you're getting caught in, like we did at the Laura Ingalls campground when it was negative 20. Was it negative 20?
Yeah, with wind chills.
Oh my gosh, that's so cold. That's very cold to be in an RV, let me tell you. But heated water hose will help you to be able to still have water in your rig, because you still need to have water pumping through your pipes and going to your sink and stuff. Let's see. Oh, M3 hooks. Those M3 hooks are amazing. I just have to give a shout out to the M3 hooks. They are everywhere in the RV, and they just were amazing. We also have these ones from Amazon. They were called the 13-pound hook. Those things were awesome. And they were just a little plastic sticker with like a metal hook. We use those for everything, for coat hooks. And I mean, you need hooks all over the tiny home. It's amazing. And then I just said things that help collapse down, like collapsible colanders and collapsible laundry baskets and collapsible, I don't know, whatever other things you got.
Pages. This is going to be a multi-part series.
It was 4.5 years in a motorhome. There was a lot to say.
I like your style.